Hello, this is DrPaulCottrell. I'm going to be doing a quick recording for PNN and do some product placement. We're going to go over the strategy from Biden's administration on Gaza. It's going to be quick. It's not going to be very long. Please subscribe to all my channels. I have 3 channels on YouTube. I have Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. Please subscribe to all those channels. In addition, please sign up to be a member, a paid member for my Patreon account. I have 4 different tiers. Basic membership, tier 1. Tier 2 is a membership that gets access to 2 of my lectures on pulmonology. And tier 3 gets half the lectures for my pulmonology lectures, and tier 4 will get all of them. Now, what the difference is that if you are getting the access through Patreon, you don't get the PDFs. If you purchase the pulmonology module on my store, you'll have access to the PDFs and the videos. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the pulmonology lecture series that I have been developing. I will be doing the next lecture on sleep apnea. I just uploaded the lung cancer lecture, so please sign up. You get access to 22 lectures on the pulmonary system. You will be able to download the PDFs and have access to the videos. You will be able to have access for as long as you have the password that you uniquely get after your purchase. You make the purchase, it's $50, and shortly after that, you will get a password to allow you to be able to enter the classes. So please sign up. It's a popular item. Also, please go and take a look at the different health products that I offer. I have structural nanosilvers. I have C60, which is a very strong antioxidant. I have a plethora of supplements such as turmeric and ashwagandha and B complex, vitamin C, zinc, magnesium, good night formula, resveratrol. I have a lot of products. In addition, I also have curated different anti-aging boxes to help you go down that journey of improving your health, slowing down the aging process, getting more energy, and boosting up your immune system. In addition, I also have partnered up with Rainbow Herbals, and we have created these deodorant bars that are very high quality. So please get your deodorant from my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Let's begin.
To secure a ceasefire deal between Hamas and Israel. This week, the US president suggested an agreement was imminent, but Hamas downplayed his optimism, saying it had yet to receive a proposal. The US State Department, however, remains hopeful.
Our goal is to achieve a deal to reach a humanitarian pause and the release of hostages as soon as possible. Certainly, we'd welcome getting one by this weekend. What I can say about the overall progress is that we made significant progress towards an agreement last week when we had officials from the United States government engaging in the region. We continued to pursue further progress this week. American officials across the government continue to be engaged on this question. We are trying to push this deal over the finish line. We do think it's possible.
Earlier, my colleague Rob Matheson spoke to Bassem Naim, the head of political and international relations for Hamas. He says Washington's words and actions are contradictory.
If the Americans want to be really optimistic, they have to end this double standard games. They talk on one tongue for stopping the aggression or for achieving a ceasefire and avoiding broadening the conflict into the region, but at the same time, they are using the veto in the Security Council to reach a ceasefire. They are approving $14 billion for Israel. They are securing Israel with more ammunition. I think more or less I can say that this optimism is not related to the reality on the ground, and it is more part of the internal American politics in the year of the election.
I know that Hamas has said that it has yet to receive any sort of proposal for a ceasefire. There have, of course, been a lot of leaked details, apparently, about some sort of ceasefire. Given what you know about the possibility of what might be out there, is there anything that Hamas would be prepared to be flexible on?
Hamas have showed from the beginning great flexibility to achieve a ceasefire, because we know every
the fact is, they want to maintain, if not grow, the West Bank occupation. The Palestinians want to maintain, increase their occupation of the West Bank. Now, they will phrase it as it's the Israeli occupation. The two-state solution will not be long-lasting if there is a ceasefire and it doesn't solve the problem with the West Bank and East Jerusalem. And that, from my perspective, is that all the Palestinians will have to be leaving, and they can move, all of them can move into the Gaza Strip, and there's the two-state solution. What they want to do is try to solidify through some Westphalian international agreement that the Israelis aren't going to go back to the biblical boundaries. Well, if this is metaphysical, which I think it is, then it's not going to be a long-lasting peace. So Hamas is not flexible at all. Now, some people would say that Israel's not flexible. Well, you know, the thing is that the gold standard isn't some sort of World War I or World War II agreement. The gold standard for this region is what the biblical boundaries are for Israel. And until people get that in their thick skull that are making these policies, it's only going to make things worse down the road.
Day to this slaughter means 100 to 150 new civilians, Palestinians killed. People are in the northern part of Gaza Strip are dying because of starvation. We know exactly what does it mean. Our families are still there in the Gaza city and in the northern part of the Gaza Strip. But at the same time, this flexibility cannot be at the cost of our main and strategic goals. For example, we are looking not for a humanitarian pause or a humanitarian ceasefire. We are looking for a final, total, comprehensive ceasefire. We are looking for a total withdrawal of the Israeli army, Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip. We are looking for allowing all Palestinians really to move from the south to the north and vice versa. We cannot accept keeping our people, 1.5 million Palestinians in the southern part of Gaza Strip, kept hostages under the Israeli policy or within part of the Israeli internal political games between the right and the left. Therefore, this is the baseline where we can build on.
Okay, let's bring in Al Jazeera senior political analyst Marwan Bashara now to help unpack a lot of this. I mean, it seems like Joe Biden is the only one that is confident that any deal is going to be done by next week. Do you think that Biden has jumped the gun here?
Well, let's call it a tactic. It's even more than a tactic. It's optimism that's strategic. It's strategy by optimism, right? Because when you are the superpower and you've been trying to mediate this thing for a while, right? And you come to a point where there are a good number of factors. One, we are approaching Ramadan. Two, we are approaching the end of the 5th month of war. International community is getting fed up. There's a bit of a fatigue on both sides. So once you launch into optimism, whoever is not responding with you is the party pooper, is responsible for suddenly turning this, Christmas, it's Christmas every day, into hell in Gaza. It's notably Hamas, right? But also Netanyahu. And that's why I think Hamas.
I think it's very important to keep in mind that Jacob's soul root is strong right now because it just, every 6 months, it goes back and forth between Esau and Jacob. All right. So they're going to get weak, especially during Ramadan. Esau's going to get weaker. And there is this sweet spot where that 6 months of gaining strength for Jacob started near the end of January. All right. It's going to go through February, March, April. It'll peak in April. And then that strength will start to wane, but it'll still be relatively stronger than Esau. So the time to hit is March and April to root out Hamas. Now, if you're a weak opponent on the battlefield, aren't you going to want to try to negotiate deals? So keep it quiet, get it to the point where it's August, September, around, September timeframe, October timeframe, and they start to get stronger. Esau gets stronger. Hit hard now and continue it on. There's a metaphysical component to this.
Was basically squeezed by that kind of a tactic on the part of the Trump White House, whereby they say, well, it seems like the parties have agreed. We probably could start on Monday. Let's go for it. Well, if Hamas then says, no, wait a minute, I didn't get anything new, it sounds like it's the outsider.
But this also puts pressure on Israel as well,
yes,
doesn't
it does.
it?
It does, and that also should give us a pause about the growing tension between Biden and Netanyahu. Not by Israel and the United States, or by the United States and Israel, but clearly Biden, at least in private, is getting fed up with Netanyahu because Netanyahu has been humiliating him like there's no tomorrow.
The bottom line is Obama's policy with Iran helped us along. Biden's policy on Iran helped this along. It made that region less safe. So the reality of the situation is that Netanyahu's career is over. You might as well go down in history as being the one that stopped kicking the can down the road and got the job done. Now, he doesn't have much time left, maybe by the end of the year. And that's probably max. So he needs to wipe out Hamas. And hopefully, what happens is that it creates a larger conflict in the region that takes out Hezbollah and knocks out the capability of Iran, with the help of the United States taking it and the UK taking it out. We can't continue going down this road. So why? Why should Netanyahu even care what Biden has to say after what the Biden administration did to help Iran? Why should he care with what happened with Iran and Obama's administration? The United States only cares about the political expedience, at least the politicians. Now you have the national security state that really doesn't want to solve, here gets to the root cause of the problem. They really don't want to solve the problem in Iran, even though by solving the problem in Iran, it creates that whole region to be more stable. But the national security state doesn't want that. So we can start building more sophisticated anti-ballistic missiles systems. Because when Iran goes nuclear, then the United States is going to have to, prepare for contingencies, defense contingencies. And that's, asking for quotes from Raytheon and Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and lots of money will be made. So no, Netanyahu, he should basically be very forceful, and I think this is what's happening behind the scenes. He's basically saying, this is what's going to happen. This is what we're doing. You can say whatever the hell you want in public, to try to, to smooth it out. But this is what we're doing. We don't give a fuck what you think. I think that's the right policy, because kicking in the can down the road because of some sort of election expedience, because we're going into a general election in November, and the Democratic Party is worried that the voter is going to be upset with them if it keeps on continuing this war. So they don't really care about solving the problem. They just care about, can they win at the ballot box? Well, it's kicking the can down the road again, and it's only going to get worse with a false peace. The only way to have lasting peace is the Palestinians, you get a two-state solution, and that your state is Gaza. And it's not the West Bank, and it's not Jerusalem. Now we're starting to go back to the golden standard of what should be going on there. And that is the biblical boundaries. And, bringing down the Dome of the Rock, which the Muslims aren't going to like, but too bad. Too bad.
So I think both men are sort of on different calendars. I think Netanyahu wants to run the clock.
There's breaking news here. McConnell to step down as Senate GOP leader, coming from Bloomberg News.
On Biden, so he can make whatever arrangements with his potential successor, Trump. He prefers Trump to Biden. Biden would prefer to somehow directly or indirectly get rid of Netanyahu and get in someone like Gantz or whoever that is more amenable to American ideas. So this kind of a move, right, that could see us go through after Ramadan with a ceasefire, right? This could lead to the implosion of the Israeli government. And if such, then definitely Netanyahu is out. That's not necessarily to the disliking of Biden.
No. Can we just talk about the optics of all this? Because when Biden was talking, he was explaining all of this on a late night comedy talk show, which is quite an unusual place for these remarks to be put out there, as well as we saw him eating an ice cream while he was talking about famine and the plight of the Palestinians. What do you make of just the look, the optics of this?
We didn't really figure out what kind of ice cream it is, right? But my sense is he's been doing that for a while. Instead of making sort of a grand State of the Union type statements where, he stands behind it, and if this didn't work out, then he's totally embarrassed. To do it on a casual, on the stop,
it's almost like a throwaway comment, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't work, it doesn't sound like, he got out on a limb and made a major doctrinal speech of strategy of some sort. He's basically on the go, eating an ice cream while people are starving in Gaza. But what the heck, he is trying to end the humanitarian situation. If it worked, it's great. If it doesn't work, well, it's another ice cream.
Yeah, indeed. We'll have to leave it there, Marwa, but we'll be talking to you over the next few hours.
I want to maybe jump to this Bloomberg announcement. This is kind of big. It's kind of surprising.
Book your first cleaning today for only $19. I felt like I hated my apartment, but it turned out I just needed
that era, and that era doesn't exist anymore, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, love him or hate him, he really is an institutionalist. And I think he feels like, you know, he's either too old or too out of style to run that chamber anymore.
Well, thanks for sticking around with us.
Happy to
Always
be
look
here.
forward to Wendy Benjaminson's insights. Bloomberg's Washington senior editor. Thank you, Wendy. As we assemble our panel, didn't think we'd be talking about this, but need to hear from Rick Davis and Jeannie Shanzano, Bloomberg Politics contributors on news that Mitch McConnell is in fact stepping down as leader. Rick, you spent a number of years, I think, as we all know, working with John McCain in the United States Senate. You have every sense of the importance of this particular tenure. What does it mean that it's coming to an end now?
Yeah, I think what Wendy just said about it's really the end of an era. We saw Nancy Pelosi in her 80s be retired. And now we have Mitch McConnell, 82, retiring from this leadership post.
It's about time. It's about time. I mean, McConnell was totally against Trump. And not only that, you know what's happening? It's the established candidates who are compromised and captured, like McConnell, like Nancy Pelosi, that love power, aren't willing to let it go and retire and keep on bringing the country down. You know, as their body starts to decay, as they get older, they can't function as well, especially at a representative level and at the federal level. And what happens is that we get bad policy for the country, but great policy for the ones that have captured. We need to just flush all these people that are established candidates in Congress down the toilet. Totally. Drano.
Have a whole new generation that comes into power positions in Washington in the very near future. And I think that era is going to be ushered in as to youthful leadership. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the Senate as far as the elections go and whether or not we're picking a minority leader or a majority leader in this cycle. But at the end of the day, we're going to lose a master strategist at legislation and politics. I was actually happy to hear that he talked about his grasp of politics. I've never met a member of the United States Senate who knew more polling and strategy than Mitch McConnell did. He was a real study in politics. And for people like me, that helped have conversations with him about the impacts of what happened in the United States Senate. They weren't in a vacuum politically. He calculated the politics of every move he made.
Fascinating. The quote that stuck out to me, Jeannie, the end of my contributions are closer than I'd prefer. And you wonder how much of this had to do with his age or the impact of Donald Trump on his party. Maybe you can't separate the two. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you. I think it's really hard to separate the two. And I was struck by that as well, because of course, this is a party that has changed enormously in the last several years, but certainly since Mitch McConnell took the helm in the Senate. And since he joined the Senate, this is not the same Republican Party of Mitch McConnell's time. And we have seen challenges to his leadership in the Senate very, very recently. And so I think that's part of it. And I think we have to take him at his word that he feels like it is now time to hand over the mantle. And this is something so many of our leaders are grappling with right now.
Why do we have so many leaders that are fucking ancient? Really? Because what happens is to say, if you get a young upstart that wants to change the system, not for the betterment of the lobbyists, but for the betterment of the average citizen, they'll go after them. They'll try to discredit them or defund them or not help them with their candidacy as they're running. to support for advertising or whatever. And if they happen to get in and they have some new ideas, then they're considered, a rebel. The bottom line is that we have in our Congress established candidates that have been captured and compromised. And so you get poor policy that only helps the people that did the capturing and did the compromise. We need to get Schumer out. Schumer is the next guy. There was this video that was out there just recently that basically was saying, oh, he's trying to create stir at the border to make the Republicans look bad. Now, I don't know if that's going to be a working strategy, but he doesn't want to solve the problem. He just plays politics. McConnell was the same way, just on the other side of the aisle. You think Schumer's really trying to help you as a citizen? No, of course not. He'll try to help his party. He'll help himself. He'll help his lobbying group. He's not trying to help the country. He's trying to destroy the country.
Right up to our presidential leading contenders in Joe Biden and Donald Trump, as you see new generations saying, wait a minute, is it time for you to exit stage left? So many, of our leaders grappling with this challenge. And I think Mitch McConnell makes a really important point. Part of being a leader is having a succession plan. And we know that he's got the 3 Johns in waiting. And I would hope a couple of the women as well in the Senate leadership on the Republican side who may be able to fill his shoes. But that's a critical part of being a leader, is knowing when to exit and hand over the mantle to the next generation. He is right about that part of it.
So what do you think about the succession plan here, Rick? It's always been about the 3 Johns in terms of recent history: Barrasso, Thune, and Cornyn. Will it in fact be one of them?
It could be. There's no question that the caucus itself is going through some turmoil. We saw attacks against Mitch McConnell earlier in the year related to his efforts to try and pass Ukraine funding. And so I think you'd have to sort of see it as an opportunistic situation. Obviously, the 3 Johns who have been participating in leadership for a very long time know how the strings are pulled, understand how to get legislation passed, understand the dynamic within the caucus probably better than anyone else. But there are other people who have ambitions in leadership, people like Tom Tillis, who I think have studied Mitch McConnell's leadership for quite some time and may be ready to emerge. And so I think you can see also potentially a right flank attack. Ted Cruz and some of his buddies have been very vocally opposed to Mitch McConnell and may put up a candidate that represents their point of view.
You wonder, Jeannie, with all the talk lately of conversations happening that might bring Mitch McConnell to a Donald Trump endorsement, which we talked about yesterday and some think is inevitable. Was this his way of saying no, that I'm not going to be part of this?
I was thinking about that. I think it's a hard call. I think I veer on the side that Mitch McConnell is a real institutionalist, and he is somebody who is deeply committed to the Republican Party. Since he committed to supporting whoever is the nominee, I believe he will probably in the end support Donald Trump. He may hold his nose like some other voters and do that, but I think he will, as Donald Trump goes to take that mantle as the nominee this year again. I would also, again, just let's add to the list of possible successors: Ernst in Iowa, Shelley Moore Capito in West Virginia. There are women in the House Republican leadership who could really play a very important role. And so, in addition to all those folks that Rick just mentioned and the 3 Johns, I think we also have to look to them because they have a very sort of interesting perspective and a path to the Senate. and a lot that they could do in their Senate Republican leadership.
Yes, right. Yeah. A lot to.
Well, that's a big news story. McConnell leaving, the leadership. We'll see what happens. But please make sure you subscribe to all my channels. I have 3 channels on YouTube. I have Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. Links are in the description of this video and all my videos. And please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. You can also donate. You can donate on my homepage on my website. At the very bottom of the homepage, you can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or Buy Me a Coffee. Or you can click the link below this video for Buy Me a Coffee, and it'll take you directly to Buy Me a Coffee, and you can donate that way to help support my news coverage. So hopefully you have a better audio experience with my recordings. I guess it's about time. But the thing that I'll just do a critique of how I feel about this new setup. I'm a person that is very active and thinks on the fly, right? And I'm original, all right? Now, a lot of people that you listen to are overly processed, especially with their editing and, just the way they act, all right? And what I've noticed is that, I like walking around and thinking, right? So when the mic system is fine. What I don't like is because for you to get good quality audio, it has to feed into a soundboard. And for me to hear it, I have to listen it through a monitor, all right? And so when I'm listening through the monitor, I got these earbuds in, or I could have headphones on, but it doesn't allow me to really walk around very well. And I don't like that aspect to it. And that's part of the reason why I wasn't improving the audio for so long. But I'll try to adapt. But if I don't like it, it's going back to the way it used to be, because it's all about how I feel and not how you feel. So thank you for watching the video, and please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the structural nano silver. It'll neutralize pathogens. Gargle with it. You swish it in your mouth. You take a teaspoon of it a day. And let me plug the probiotic. Go to the store, get the powdered probiotic. I also have it in a capsule form, and take it every day. You'll get that good gut biome. You'll have better metabolism, better absorption, more energy, more consistency with your stools, better communication between your gut, your liver, your gut, and your brain. So please go to my store and get the high quality probiotics. Thank you for listening, and have a nice day.